welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we are going over UFC 281, Adesanya versus Pereira. Again, first things first, make sure you give this video a like, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there is social media, there is the Stats and Stacks podcast. Last week, I believe we went 306, but both our locks hit. There were no Dustin Jacoby or Peter Yan screw jobs. They came through with Johnny Munoz, and God, I don't even remember who the other lock was. But it is what it is. You're not going to hit on all the dogs. And with the Candelario over, I've never seen Jake Hadley fight like that. So you can't predict what you haven't seen before. But we've seen a lot of these fights from these fighters before because this is a pay-per-view. You will have some better fighters on here and fighters that you've seen a while. So you'd be shocked if they pulled something new wrinkle out of the hat. So before we used to do better on the lower tier cards, and then all of a sudden we flipped to doing better on pay-per-views. Well, hopefully that streak continues because it is a pay-per-view this Saturday. Again, it's a pretty decent fight card, so I'm excited to dive right into it, especially after the last two cards that we've had. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop right into this card with the first fight of the night being a barn burner. This one doesn't have a lot of talent, but it should be a whole hell of a lot of fun. We have Carlos Ulberg as a minus 120 favorite going up against Nick Nuragomenu at plus 100. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 150, under 1.5 plus 120. Let's start with Carlos because I don't think Carlos is that good. I think Carlos has some pretty good striking, to be honest with you. But all in all, he's a city kickboxing guy. He is an Izzy fan. Izzy training partner. All in all, if he was not friends with Israel, Adesanya, as as Ariel would say. I believe he pronounces it Adesanya, is how Israel says it. At the end of the day, if he wasn't Izzy's friend, he wouldn't be in the UFC. His cardio, very suspect. Power on point. You can back him up a little bit, which isn't good going with the opponent he's going against. All in all, he's a very good striker, just has no cardio. And the few times where he did go long, he went to a decision with Fabio Cherant. First and foremost, you shouldn't be going to a decision with Fabio Cherant. And secondly, he wanted to conserve his energy so much. It was one of those guys, the Randy Costas of the world, where when they try to conserve their energy, they look bad. They don't throw anything. They get hit all the time. They're just trying to wait. And then as soon as the third round hits, they try to explode. Alonzo Menafield did it a few times. Like, it doesn't look good when these guys that are first round killers try to conserve their energy. It never looks good. So he needs to figure out the proper way to do it. And I just don't think he can against Nick Nuragomenu because Nick is not good. Nick is very, very bad, actually. But Nick has a chin. His head is so big. I don't think the man can be knocked out. I do not think it's physically possible. Is his striking good? Hell no. He is the definition of hittable. He just blocks punches with his face, but his cardio checks out. Again, he's durable as all hell, and he does have wrestling in his back pocket. He bills himself as a wrestler. His takedowns aren't the greatest, but they're enough, and we haven't seen Carlos's takedown defense. I can almost guarantee you he has nothing off of his back, but we don't even know if he can stuff a takedown. He fought two strikers, the two lowest level fighters that the UFC had, and they were both strikers. So we don't know if Carlos can actually stuff a takedown, and I feel like we're going to figure out here. All this guy does, he is not good. All he does is march forward and eat shots, throw really, really hard power shots back at you, and try to take you down occasionally. All Carlos does is beat you to death, and then when he gets tired from hitting you, he gasses out and he goes out and he quits. This is the definition of Nick, man. He pressures forward. He's going to let Carlos punch him in the face, and then eventually he's either going to get the takedown or he's going to put him away. One of the two, man. So I think Carlos is the better fighter. I just don't think Nick is a good matchup for him. So the pick is going to be Carlos, and I think City Kickboxing loses the very first fight of the night. And I'm going to pick Nick and bet Nick at plus money. Again, he is not good. This is all style makes fights. Speaking of which, we have Montel Jackson as a minus 200 favorite going up against Julio Arce at plus 170. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is -175. Under 2.5 at +140. I don't want to play that over under game because I'm really confused with this fight. We'll start with Julio Arce, who I like a lot. He spent most of his time up at featherweight in the UFC, and he fought some decent guys at featherweight. He was fighting the Hakeem Dawoodus, the Juicy J's, the Daniel Tamars, the Dan Iges, and he's having wins over these guys. Like, these are good fighters at featherweight. He did fight at bantamweight a long time ago. His last fight being against Brian Kelleher at bantamweight back in 2016. After that Hakeem Dawoodou loss, he decided he wanted to go back down. So he did. And he fought Andre Ewell, and he looked good. Got the finish. Then he fought Song Yadong. He looked all right, but Song Yadong's a tank, man. Song Yadong's really good. And then he fought Wily Cat Daniel Santos. Now, not everyone knows about Santos. Santos is pretty decent. He trained with Oliveira. He is a little hittable, and Arce was able to take advantage of that, gave him a little bit of a vet lesson in the kid's short notice debut. So all in all, Arce has really good striking. His jiu-jitsu, he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. We just never see him wrestle. I honestly think he's only had 1 or 2 takedowns in his entirety of the UFC. Like, he does not shoot takedowns, even though he's a black belt. So if it hits the ground, he is more than comfortable, but he loves being on the feet. And the last thing I'll say is I've seen Julio Arce live. That head kick knockout against Julian Rosa was in Rochester, New York. I was there in the building. Dude looked good. And you know where we are for this? MSG. We are in New York State. We are in Julio Arce's backyard. So you have a good fighter in his hometown. Is he going to win? There's a chance he does, but I just can't give him the nod against Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson, he doesn't have the greatest resume in regards to people he's fighting. Fighting the JP Buys of the world, but they all, like, he has a lot of opponents back out and people step up and cancel bouts. Like, that's not his fault. He fights who he's supposed to. He's not supposed to fight Jesse Strader, but that's who stepped up along the way. But let's not act like he didn't fight good people. Brett Johns is very, very good. Probably one of the best bantamweights outside of the UFC. Philippe Colares, not the greatest. Brian Kelleher, pretty decent. And he went out there and he starched Brian Kelleher. That's impressive. He choked him out in under 2 minutes. That's an impressive win, aged well. Lost to Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone's like a top 10, God, maybe top 5 guy in the division. That loss seems fine. And you know what? He has 2 career losses to 2 wrestlers who came out and held him down. That's who beat Montel Jackson. You'll hear the UFC talk about, all you hear the commentary say is, take a shot every time you hear them say his hands are as big as Francis Ngannou's. Yes, the guy is freakishly big hands, especially for 135. They're bigger than heavyweight fighters. That's nice, and he has some power that go along with it. He's going to have a 5.5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. 68% takedown defense. Now, that number is good. It doesn't sound good, but again, he fought Ricky Simone and Brett Johns, guys that are shooting like they're getting him down 8 times. That means no one else is able to get him down. The guy's takedown defense is not terrible. And his jiu-jitsu is not bad. He's tall and lanky, and he can slide those lanky-ass arms into some chokes. Again, you see the Kelleher was a Darce choke. Like, he can just slip those arms right underneath your neck, man. This kid is dangerous. This kid is a problem. I don't really want to call him a kid because he's 30 years old, but the guy is good. He's underrated, and I think he gets the job done. So the pick is going to be Montel Jackson. The bet, -200, not terrible. I don't want to play that over-under game because he can get a finish or he could just grind him out. But I'll take Montel and I'll bet Montel in some parlays. Then the next fight of the night is one that, for some odd reason, my gut is screaming Greece. We have Sung Woo Choi at -155 going up against Mike Trizano at +135. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 -205. Under 2.5 +165. Let's start with Sung Woo Choi. I think the kid's good. He's 10-5. Don't let the record fool you. His last fight against Josh Kulabau, no one knows who Josh Kulabau is. Josh Kulabau is good, man. He's sneaky good, and no one just gives him credit. Then before that, he had fought Alex Caceres. He knocked out Alex Caceres. Then he hit him with an illegal knee. They restarted the fight. Alex Caceres couldn't take him down, but wound up behind him and choked him out with a standing rear naked choke. It was a weird fight. He won the fight, then he got DQ'd, and then he got caught in something funky. All of it was all over the place. Fight before that, he knocked out Juicy J quickly. Good win. The fight before that beat Yusuf Zalal, who I think is pretty good. And then the fight before that, he beat a scrub. But his two losses in the UFC prior to were to Masvar Evloev, who I think is a top 5 guy in the division, and Gavin Tucker, who's underrated. Like, he's fighting great fighters at featherweight. He has really good stand-up. His wrestling, he's starting to get better at it. You saw it a lot in his last fight against Josh Kulibau. He got a few takedowns. His jiu-jitsu getting better, but off his back, he's not the greatest. You can't catch him in some stuff if you have any sort of wrestling or ground game. All in all, he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here, and he's going to want to strike. 3.5 inches is something he's going to want to take care of. His cardio seems to check out. He hits hard. He should be the side here. That's why he's the minus 200 favorite. Sorry, minus 155 favorite. Because if you're a striker, you're going to struggle with him. And Mike Trizano is a striker. Mike Trizano is the Ultimate Fighter winner from like 2018. His striking's not bad. Don't get me wrong. He is a little bit hittable. He's not low volume per se, but it's odd. Like, he kind of takes one to give one. His cardio checks out, but he keeps getting into these stand-up wars, and they're always greasy. When you look at his record, it was a close fight against Lucas Almeida until he ultimately got knocked out in the 3rd round. Before that, it was a close fight against Akeem Dawodu. Before that, Ludovic Klein was close. Grant Dawson beat the shit out of him. Luis Pena, split decision. Joe Giannetti, split decision. He always fights close fights, no matter what. Here's where the grease happens. This guy is also from New York. This is his backyard. He trains with Julio Arce at Tiger Salon. So this is their card. This is for them to take over. And I think with both of these guys being a striker, both of these guys being awfully durable, there could be some controversy. The crowd is going to cheer every time Mike gets a hit, and they're going to boo every time Choi does something. Even if Choi outlasts him and does more, the crowd may influence the judges here. And I feel like this has, with Trizano always having these split decisions and close wins, I think the crowd is going to sway it. So the pick is going to be Choi. I think he wins this fight. I think he's the better fighter, but I think that he might get screwed by the judges and the hometown kid. So I would probably end up betting Trizano or just leaving it alone. Because Mike Trizano just got knocked out not too long ago by Almeida, so I don't want to play the over-under game. I wanted to do the over. I don't hate it at minus 205. I'd probably stay away from this fight. This has hometown screw job written all over it. The next one will not. We have Karolina Kowalkiewicz as a minus 125 favorite going up against Silvana Suarez at plus 100. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 140. Under 2.5 plus 110. It is a women's strawweight fight, and you heard that. Plus 110 for it under. That's because of Silvana. Silvana hits hard. On paper, she weighs 115 pounds. I don't know if I'm buying it. This girl, and you look at her record, Na Liang, knockout. This girl over in her fight night, her last combate, when knockout, decision, knockout, decision, submission, knockout. This girl is a finisher. She has how many wins? 11 wins, and only like 2 are by decision. Like, she goes out there and she finishes. Her issue is, even though she has really good striking, a ton of power, more power than I've ever seen at 115, her issue is, one, she's 37 years old, so she's getting older. She could fall off a cliff at any point. Secondly, her jiu-jitsu is very questionable. Again, she's 11-4, and her losses are by submission, decision, and she got stopped by Polyana a while ago. So half of her wins are, or half of her losses are by submission. That does concern me. Carolina's not bad on the ground. But all in all, Silvana's takedown defense did look a little better against Na Liang, and she's going to need it because Carolina on the feet, she's traditionally a striker, but she's not the youngest thing going either. Carolina was around for a while. Carolina herself is 37 years old, so the 37 angle for Silvana doesn't scare me as much in this particular matchup. She's fought the better people 110%. Yeah, her record's 13-7, but she's fought for a title before. She's fought Yan Janan, Alexa Grasso, Michelle Watterson, former champion Jessica Andrade, Claudia Gadelia was a title challenger. Rose Namajunas is a former champion. She has a win over her. She has a lot of UFC experience, and she's very good. The problem is you see all this red. She hasn't won a fight. Her last fight she won was against Felice Herrig. earlier in the year in June. But before that, the last win she had was in 2018 against the same woman, Felice Herrig. So she went on a 5-fight losing streak. Now, granted, Jessica Andrade, former champ, Michelle Waterson, very good. Alexa Grasso about to fight for a title. Yan Janan might be about to fight for a title. Jessica Panay, not the best loss. That was her coming back off of retirement. She didn't look the greatest there. So she fought 4 straight killers, made a bad decision for the 5th loss. They let her get a 6th fight for whatever reason, and she capitalized. I thought she was going to retire. Finally got her win right off into the sunset, and now she's back. And she's fighting Silvana Suarez. I don't think this is the right spot for her. All I needed to know was, can she take her down? Because that's how she wins this fight. Her jiu-jitsu is better. After doing fight tape, Carolina cannot wrestle. So this is concerning. I don't think Carolina wins this fight. And I have no idea why she's the favorite. So the pick is going to be Silvana. I know why she's a favorite because people don't know Silvana. So Silvana is going to be the pick. At plus money, that's an easy bet. Bet her now. There is some money from smart bettors coming in on Silvana. So take it while it's plus money, because this thing is going to be a pick 'em, or Silvana is going to be the favorite by the time this fight card kicks off. Then the next fight is one I cannot wait for. We have Matt the Steamroller Frivola going up against Otman Azatar. Straight pick 'em, minus 110 on both sides. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 130. Under 1.5 plus 100. Part of the reason I'm excited is because of the under. I think that thing is going to hit because Otman Azatar hits hard. This dude does not need to fight at all. He's 32, I want to say. He's 32 years old, coming off a suspension. Why is he getting suspended? Actually, coming off a release, and then they brought him back. He's 13-0. You're asking, why would they release someone like that? I don't know if you guys remember Fight Island, and during the COVID period, there was the guy that got kicked out of the UFC for someone smuggling a bag in to his hotel. Like, he broke COVID protocols because one of his friends scaled the side of a building and the hotel he was staying at with a bag, and then brought it to Osmond. And everyone wanted to know what was in that bag. Was it steroids? He's been tested the most after that. Like, you saw to test him like 26 times or something. They will not stop testing this man. They think he's on the juice because he hit so hard. Apparently he had potatoes. He wanted some he wanted to eat potatoes. That's what was in the bag. So this dude he got kicked out of the UFC for having a friend scale the side of a hotel to give him potatoes. Like, you can't make this shit up. Ottman, again, I say he doesn't need the fight because he's a millionaire. This guy is rich. He's like a prince or something weird like that in some foreign country. Like, this guy is literally royal family and has money out the ass, but he enjoys whooping ass. So he's in the UFC. This guy is a character, man. And he hits hard. He's 13-0. When you watch it, knockout, decision, knockout, submission, knockout. This dude has one decision win. 12 wins by finish, 1 by decision. This dude is an absolute killer. He's there for a good time, not a long time. Dude doesn't even have to fight. He enjoys hurting people. And you know what? I think he can hurt Matt Frivola. Matt Frivola, once again, the hometown kid. That's why Matt Frivola is going to lose. There are 2 different Matt Frivolas. There's the Matt Frivola that goes out there and tries to stand with Terrence McKinney, tries to stand with his last fight, Gennaro Valdez, went out there and just swung leather. Like, Matt Frivola hits very hard. His striking's not terrible. The problem is he's a wrestler. He's a good wrestler. And I've seen good Matt Frivola come out here and take down Luis Pena over and over and over and hold him. Jalen Turner could be a future champ of the division. He came out here and took down Jalen Turner and held him down. Good, smart Matt Frivola comes out and wrestles, makes it a boring fight, and gets the W. The other Matt Frivola wants to come out, throw leather, and excite the audience. It is not the Apex, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Frivola is an MSG in front of his hometown crowd. He's not going to come out and wrestle. He's going to want to come out and try to put on a show. Matt does hit hard, but he does not have a chin. Terrence McKinney knocked him out in 7 seconds. Like, Polo Reyes is not good. Knocked him out in 1 minute. I've watched some of his other fights. Lando Venata dropped him like 4 times in their fight. Luis Pena dropped him. All these guys are dropping him. If they don't put him out, they're putting him on his ass. He does not have a chin. So I don't think you go out there and play the haymaker game with Ottman, where all he has are really, really hard hooks. Matt's going to play right into it, and he's going to get knocked the fuck out. So the pick is going to be Ottman. The bet, I just like the under. I think Matt's going to be too juiced in MSG, and he's going to go out there and get his shit rocked. All right, then the next fight of the night, I'm going to need you to hear me out. We have Andre Petrowski at minus 200 going up against Wellington Turman at plus 170. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 135. Under 1.5 plus 105. Hear me out. Okay, hear me out. Wellington Turman sucks. He's not that good. Here's the thing I can say about Wellington Turman. His stand-up does look a little better. It seems to be improving. I saw it better in the Sam Alvey fight. It looked better in the Misha Serkinov fight. It looks like it's improving a little bit. His wrestling, 85% takedown defense. His offensive wrestling, fine. He came out and took down Bruno Silva a shit ton to start that fight. He switched training camps and now trains with the former tramp and Glover Teixeira. And I'm seeing improvements each time he comes out and fights. And I realized the kid's 26 years old. No wonder he's improving. Yeah, he went out there and got knocked out by Andrew Sanchez and lost a split decision to Carl Robertson. But at that time, the kid was 22, 23 years old. Cut him a little bit of slack. Now he's 26. He's starting to enter his prime. Is he still the best fighter in the world? Fuck no. Is he improving? Yeah, man. He went out there and tapped out Misha Serkinov. Was it rudimentary? Was it pedestrian? Was it a armbar from guard? Yeah. Did he snatch that thing up? Hell yeah, he did. The issue with him is his cardio. It seems to be getting better. It's still not the greatest, but it looked fine in that Sam Alvey fight. The issue with Turman is his chin. You don't get knocked out by Andrew Sanchez. That's not a good look. Bruno Silva, he knocks out everyone, but he did it in the first round. I've seen him rocked multiple times. I believe Carl Robertson rocked him in the fight I watched. Like, this dude might be a little chinny. That's not the greatest look. But the good news for him is that he's fighting Andre Petrowski, who's not a striker. Andre Petrowski is a wrestler who's pretty good on the ground. Last went out there, tapped out Nick Maximoff. Not as impressive as it once looked. All in all, his UFC wins are against Nick Maximoff, cut from the UFC. Yeah. Hu Yazon, cut from the UFC. Michael Gilmore, cut from the UFC. Not a good look. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. He has no good wins on his record. Literally, all these guys he's fighting are 1-2, 2-2, 1-1, 7-11, 4-1. And then we come into the UFC where he's fighting the worst UFC fighters I've ever seen, which collectively have like no wins total. It's just not a good look. Don't get me wrong. He's a great wrestler. He's a great grappler. He's winning jiu-jitsu competitions. He tapped out Eric Anders real quickly with theirs. He's a good jiu-jitsu practitioner. But Wellington Turman's a black belt. So as long as he can stay safe, he's fine. Because I think Turman's the better striker now. The wrestling, 85% takedown for Turman. If he is able to get taken down, he's able to stay safe. And Petrowski can't keep taking you down because Petrowski is one of the worst gas tanks I've ever seen. The dude gasses. And he, just like I talked about Carlos earlier, when he fought Brian Battle in the UFC, in the Ultimate Fighter House, he won the first round, then he gassed out and got choked out. His very, very next fight was against Michael Gilmore, where he did nothing for the first 2 rounds. Saw he still had energy left in the third, so then he poured it on and he got the finish. But he looked terrible those first 2 rounds because he was conserving his energy. He can't conserve his energy against Wellington. Wellington might take him down. Then what's he going to do? He has to exert energy to get back up. This is not a good style for Andre Petrowski to be a favorite here. And Turman plus 175, I think this should, or plus 170, I think it should be a straight pick 'em. If you're giving me plus 170, I'm a value chaser. I don't like Turman. I don't think he's good, but I think this is a good line for him. A fade Petrowski. The pick is going to be Wellington. The bet is going to be Wellington. Next fight of the night, we have honestly one of my favorite girl fighters, if not my favorite currently in women's MMA. Aaron Blanchfield is a minus 390 favorite going up against the up and the rising Molly Meatball McCann at plus 320. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 205. Under 2.5 plus 165. Let's start with my girl Blanchfield because she's undefeated. She is not 9-1. That loss against Tracy Cortez is straight bullshit. It was in Tracy Cortez's hometown, and they gave her this really weird decision, this weird split decision where I have no idea where they can give it to Tracy. I like Tracy. I think Tracy's a good fighter, but if they run that back, Aaron kills her. She has wins over Brogan Walker, who's in the UFC. She destroyed Sarah Alpar. Miranda Maverick has everyone's. She was just a minus 800 favorite over someone 2 weeks ago. She went out there and dominated her. JJ Aldridge is on the rise. Went out there, struggled in the first round, and then came out there and finished her in the second. This girl has it all. Victoria Leonardo is in the UFC. Like all the people she's fighting in the regional scene are in the UFC. Kay Hansen was in the UFC. She has most of her regional scene wins are against people who are in the UFC or are currently in the UFC. So that's impressive. Then, so when she came to the UFC, she was fine. Again, 23 years old. Super, super young. Is she going to make some mistakes along the way because she's so young? Absolutely. But the thing I loved is she was making those young mistakes in her last fight against JJ Aldridge. And then she adjusted in the second round and got the finish. I love it. The girl can strike. It's not as good as I once thought it was, but it's not bad. Her striking is not bad by any means. It's a really sneaky head kick that she will put the lights out with. She did the Victoria Leonardo. Like she is a sneaky, sneaky head kick that's really good. Her wrestling is what gets it done. Her wrestling is very, very good. And her jiu-jitsu is top notch. So she's well-rounded everywhere. Her cardio checks out. She can go for days. She's 23. She's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage in this fight. She's super high volume. She literally does it all. The only fault she has is that she is 23 years old. She'll make some dumb kid decisions once in a while. But she's a tank, man. She is good everywhere. I love this girl. She's dedicated to the game. I think she's a future champ. In order to be a champ, you have to win these fights against Molly Meatball McCann, though. I love the rise of Molly. Molly and Batty over in London are doing their thing. She has a spinning back elbow thing going on in her last 2 fights. She plays to the crowd, jumps in the crowd, goes crazy. I think Meatball is exciting. I think she's fun to watch. I have bet her last 3 fights. I bet against her with Laura Procopio or Laura Fritzen, it shows on here. Meatball fading her and betting her has been winning me so much money. She is a cash cow for me. I love Meatball because I can read her like a book. She has good striking. Her cardio is very good. Her cardio is very, very good. All her losses to grapplers. Laura Procopio went out there, grappled her. Tyler Santos went out there, grappled her. Jillian Robertson went out there, grappled her. Vanessa Mello went out there, grappled her. Every single one of her losses because she was taken down and held down. And you know what? She has a 46% takedown defense. When she fights a striker, Ji Young Kim, the Luana Carolinas, the Hannah Goldies, she dominates. When she fights these grapplers, she struggles. Aaron Blanchfield, grappler. Not a good look for her. Molly has high volume as well. It's just she has nothing off of her back. She's not as easily submitted anymore, but she just plays it safe down there and she can't get the fuck up. So I think Molly is fun. I think the rise has been awesome, but I think it comes to an end. Fighting Aaron Blanchfield is where win streaks come to die because Blanchfield is the GOAT. So the pick is going to be Blanchfield. The bet is going to be Blanchfield. She's minus 400, which sucks. So I took a peek at that over-under. I don't hate the under 2.5. I think she can choke her out, but I'd probably just throw Blanchfield in some parlays and call it a day. Unless the number gets too high. Once you start hitting like minus 450 and stuff, then I would probably just bet the under. Then the next fight of the night is surprisingly on the undercard. We have Dominic Reyes. The return of Dominic Reyes, minus 210, going up against Ryan Superman Span at plus 180. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 120. Under 1.5 minus 110. This is a fun fight, man. Dom Reyes, Ryan Span. Here's the problem. I don't think Ryan Span is that good. He's 20-7. He has some pretty interesting record. He has an interesting record in the UFC. I mean, His striking's okay, but he's predominantly a jiu-jitsu guy. No one notices because he hits so damn hard. He's so physically imposing. He has quite a few knockouts, but most of his wins are by submission. And he choked out Ian Kutalaba. Yes, he knocked out Misha Serkinov, but he choked out Devin Clark. He knocked out into Little Nog, but he choked out his opponent in Contender Series. He won by knockout against Alec Nicholson, but he choked out Tucker. Like, he has all of these submission wins as well as knockouts, and especially to start, he had a ton of guillotines. He loves his guillotines. This one just says submission, but he actually has more submission wins than knockouts, which is pretty surprising, to be honest with you. His striking's all right, as he just more relies on his power. He will have a 4.5 inch reach advantage here. He can't wrestle, so that's why most of his wins are by guillotine, because it's them shooting on him. He can't wrestle. So that's not really a factor. He is a little bit hittable. He does have a little bit of a cardio issue. He will slow down in fights. And honestly, even though he hits extremely hard, he seems to have some gas tank issues and some durability issues with this weight cut. He's a little chinny himself. His losses: he got clubbed and subbed by Anthony Smith. He got knocked out by Johnny Walker. Carl Roberson knocked him out 15 seconds. That's not a good look. Like, this dude, I don't know, man. Lost to Trevin Giles. Trevin Giles is now at welterweight. That's not a good look. Like, you can wear on this guy. He hits like a truck, sneaky good ground game, but he has no chin and no cardio. So I don't know, man. Picking his fight is scary. So then you got to just look at his opponents, because he's a wild card and his weight cuts are always bad. Watch him on weigh-ins. He may not make weight. He misses weight quite a bit. So make sure you keep an eye on that. On the flip side, I'm just looking at his opponent to see some sort of congruency. And you know what? Dom Reyes is pretty consistent. Dom Reyes, really good striking. And I love that he took a 1.5-year break. I love the fact that he took a break. He needed one. Yes, he's on a 3-fight losing streak, but for the love of God, look at who his losses are to. John Jones in a title fight. I thought he won. I had money on John Jones. I thought Dom Reyes won. I got lucky that Dom Reyes lost. I thought he won the fight. Then he fought for Jan for the title in a title fight. Jan knocked him out. It is what it is. So he lost to 2 champs. Who is his next loss to? Yuri Prohaska, the current champ. And he looked fine the first round, and then Yuri just wore on him. But he has 3 losses in his career. They're all to the last 3 champions of the division. Like, yes, he's on a 3-fight losing streak, but put an asterisk next to that, losing the 3 champions. His wrestling, not the greatest, but he can try to muscle you down for some takedowns. And the thing is, he doesn't shoot doubles. He does a lot of body locks with him being so tall. So that's good, because Ryan Spann does a whole bunch of guillotines. He can't guillotine someone from a body lock. On the flip side, Dom Reyes hits extremely hard. Not good for someone like Ryan Spann, who has a little bit of a chin issue. And Dom Reyes has cardio for days. Not good for someone like Ryan Spann that has some durability and cardio issue. Is Reyes chinny? He might be. He might be. Jones rocked him. Yuri put him out. Jan put him out. He might be a little chinny. So I don't hate the under here. Someone's going to catch somebody. But Reyes has more volume, 80% takedown defense. So he's probably going to keep it on the feet. And I think he's the better striker and might hit harder. So the pick is going to be Reyes. The bet is going to be Reyes. He could come out there and look terrible after this 1.5 years, but he's training with Glover and Alex Pereira and Wellington Turman, a lot of people on this fight card, and he took that 1.5 year break. He needed his body to rest, and he did. He's still 32. He's still in his prime. I think this is going to be beneficial for a run. So the pick is going to be Dom. The bet is going to be Dom. Next fight of the night. Speaking of teammates, we have Brad Riddell going up against Renato Moicano. Moicano is a -125 favorite. Riddell +105 on the comeback. Over on their side of 2.5. Over 2.5 and under 2.5. Straight pick him at -115. Let's start with Riddell. Someone I like. I like Brad Riddell. I think he's a cool guy. I think he's an exciting fighter. He is really good striking. He was a striking coach over at Tiger Muay Thai for a while. 62% takedown defense, little sketchy. Cardio checks out. He has good cardio, really good cardio. His jiu-jitsu, a little sketchy. Is he with Team Izzy at City Kickboxing? Yeah, he's at a good camp. Volume, good. Schedule, he fought some good guys. My issue is Brad is only 31 years old, but the way he fights, it wears on people. He's had so many shots to the head. I think at 31, his durability is starting to fade. His last fight, he got clubbed and subbed by Jalen Turner in 40 seconds. Like he literally was out on his feet, had to shoot a takedown, and got subbed. Fight before that, I know Fiziev hits hard, but he got knocked out in the third round. Fight before that, he got dropped by Drew Dober in the first round. Had to wake up when he was definitely out. Had to wake up, grind. He got a takedown, and then was able to grind for the rest of the fight to win it. Fight before that, Alex De Silva rocked him. Fight before that, Magaran Mustayev rocked him. The dude gets rocked in every single fight. I think Jamie Malarkey is the only one not to rock him or put him out in his UFC career. The dude gets rocked every single fight. He's so good on the feet that he ends up winning. And his offensive wrestling is not bad, but he has 62% takedown defense. And that concerns me fighting someone like Moicano because Moicano's good, man. Moicano should not have been at featherweight. I like him so much better at 155. His wrestling's okay. It was actually better than I remembered it being. His striking's good. Moicano has really good striking, but his bread and butter is the ground game. This dude is phenomenal on the ground. We saw it against Alexander Hernandez, took him out quick. Jay Herbert took him out quick. He tried to stand with Fiziev. Stupid mistake. He tried to stand with Rafael Dos Anjos. I don't think he wanted to wrestle. He took the fight on short notice, and it was a 5-rounder. And I think he knew he was going to gas out. Showed some durability. He's been knocked out quite a few times. I thought he was a little chinny, but I think the move to 155 helps with his durability. His losses, good schedule. Beating Zabir Tuhugov, that's a good win. Beating Jeremy Stevens, good win. Loss to Brian Ortega, that's a title challenger. Win against Calvin Cater, good win. Cub Swanson, good win. Jose Aldo, former champ. Chan Sung Jung, former challenger. Rafael Fiziev, about to fight for a title. So, all in all, RDA, former champ. He's fought some really, really good guys. He's beating everyone that was not a former champ or challenger, and he's losing to the ones that are at the top of the food chain. Where do you think Riddell fits? I don't think top of the food chain. I think Riddell is closer to Alexander Hernandez than he is to Rafael Fiziev. So the pick is going to be Moicano. He just has more ways to win. So the pick is Moicano. The bet is going to end up being Moicano. All right. Then the next fight of the night is one I'm pretty excited for. It's the one that's going to start our main card. We have Dan Hooker as a minus 155 favorite going up against Claudio Puelles at plus 135. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 110. Under 2.5 minus 140. I don't know what to do with that over under because I think Dan Hooker's going to win, and I think Dan Hooker's going to hurt this dude. Dan Hooker is very, very good striking. He has 3.5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. The people he's fought 10 times better than Claudio, 10 times better. Dustin Poirier, former champ. Arnold Allen about to fight for a title. Islam, current champ. Nazareth, a little overrated, but he went out there and dominated him. He lost to Michael Chandler, fought for a title. He beat Paul Felder, good win. Eli Quinta lost to Edson Barboza. That's not a bad loss. Now it's at 145. Jair Rodriguez. I don't think this kid should have ever been at 145. I mean, for the love of God, he's like 6'2" or something. He's 6 foot. Who's 6 foot and weighs 145? It was just too much on his body. All in all, he's another city kickboxing guy. A lot of them because it's an Izzy card, so all of his friends tend to fight on the same card. Is he getting chinny in these battles? It's the same thing as Riddell. He's only 32 years old, but his fight style, he gets punched in the head a lot. His durability may start to fade. It might be fading a little. The good news is he has 78% takedown defense, and that's with fighting people like Chandler, even though Chandler didn't shoot a takedown. People like Islam, that are going to go out there. Gilbert Burns, Jim Miller, people that want to take you down. 78% takedown defense is not bad. And the reason I point that out is because Claudio Puelles can't strike. Claudio Puelles went out there and looked sketchy in a striking battle against the guy that just fought Patty, Jordan Levitt. Like, if you're striking with Jordan Levitt and it looks close, that's not a good look. He went out there and got dominated by Chris Gutzmacher on the feet. That is not a good look. The dude has low volume. He's extremely hittable on the feet. His wrestling is not good. That's why that 78% takedown defense is clutch. His jiu-jitsu world class. His jiu-jitsu, the kid is a stud on the ground. He's 26 years old. He's getting much better. He's been in the UFC forever. He was like 20 when he got into the UFC. So you are seeing him get better. It's just he got knocked out by Martin Bravo. He almost got finished by Chris Grutzmacher before he came back and won. He he has two straight wins by knee bar. He has a come from behind win against Felipe Silva. They should have stopped that fight. He was all over the place. Rock had no idea where he was. Managed to slap on a knee bar and get the win. He has three come from behind knee bars. That's not normal. This is not normal at all. So if Dan stays off the ground on the feet, he kills this kid. If Dan gets taken down, I don't like it. It scares me. But Dan has 78% takedown defense, and Claudio can't wrestle. So the pick is going to be Dan. The bet is going to be Dan. And I don't think he's washed. I think he's going to get back on track, baby. Speaking of back on track, we have it. Some controversy. Frankie Edgar plus 185 going up against Chris Gutierrez at minus 215. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 150. Under 2.5 plus 120. I have a rule. You don't bet on fighters that say they're retiring. You do not do it. Frankie Edgar said this is his retirement fight. Frankie Edgar's a legend. Frankie Edgar had no business being a 155-pound champ. The dude fights at 135 right now. Dude might be able to make 125. He's tiny. He's 5'6". Like, he is phenomenal. He's so cool. He is just a pioneer of the sport. Wrestling untouched. Very great wrestler. Striking is not it's not that he's that good. It's that he's that fast, man. The dude has fast hands. He doesn't really have a ton of power, but the dude hits you fast, and he still has it. The problem is his chin is starting to leave him. The reason his chin is starting to leave him is because he's 41 years old. The dude's old, man. God, the dude is old. 41 at 135 is concerning. Any man's chin would start leaving then. His cardio still checks out, man. He still has good cardio. Went 5 rounds with Corey Sandhagen, not Corey Sandhagen. Went 5 rounds with Pedro Munoz just 2 years ago. So all in all, dude's really, really good. It's just you don't bet fighters on their retiring fights. I don't know the Daniel Cormier, Little Nog, Luke Rockhold. I can't think of anyone who announced this was their last fight that went out there and won. I legitimately cannot. No one rides out on the sunset. The only one I can even think of that did that was Chris Lytle, and that was like back in 2007. I literally cannot think of another name of someone who did that. So you say you're retiring, it's for a reason. You're older and you always go out losing. On the flip side, we have Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez is also someone I saw fight live. Chris Gutierrez has good striking. I saw him knock out Dana Bacterel in Columbus. His losses are good. He's 18-3-2. The kid is good. He's sneaky good. That's the issue. I want Frankie to fight someone crappy and then go out happy. They gave him someone as low as they could, but Chris is a dark horse, man. The dude's good. 73% takedown defense. That's an odd number, especially considering who he's fighting. The level of competition is nowhere near Frankie. Dana Bacterel is good, but he's no Frankie, and he can't really wrestle. Felipe Colores can't really wrestle. Andre Ewell can't wrestle at all. Cody Durden can wrestle a little, but he's a flyweight. Vince Morales technically can wrestle, but refuses to use it. Ryan McDonald can't wrestle. DeFrites can't wrestle. Honey Borchellos can wrestle a lot. Took him down and choked him out. Go figure. Ray Rodriguez, trash. So, he's fighting all of these people that just can't wrestle. So why is he a 73% takedown defense? Takedown defense can't be that good if strikers are taking you down. His jiu-jitsu, questionable. He's been choked out a few times. So, but his losses, I don't know who Gerard Sanders is. He had a pretty decent record when I went back and looked, but beat some notable guys. Timur Valiev is a tank. He's a stud. Hani Barcelos is a stud. So his losses, he has good losses. I'll give it to him. The dude is good. Does he have any good wins? No. I think Bacterel was his best win. So this kid is someone that could be sneaky good, but no one actually knows. Here's where the grease happens. I think I'm gonna bet Frankie Edgar to win the fight. You never bet retiring fighters. Here's the problem. Frankie Edgar, two things. One, Chris Gutierrez compared to the people Frankie Edgar has been fighting. Frankie Edgar is lost to Marlon Vera, about to fight for a title. Corey Sandhagen did fight for a title. Pedro Munoz is ranked like number 5. Chan Sung Jung fought for a title up a weight class. Max Holloway, one of the goats of featherweight. Cub Swanson, very good. Brian Ortega, former title challenger. Yair Rodriguez might fight for a title. Jeremy Stevens, pretty decent. Jose Aldo, former champ. Chad Mendez fought for a title. Uriah Faber, former champ. Cub Swanson, again, decent. BJ Penn, former champ. Charles Oliveira, former champ. Jose Aldo, former champ. Benson Henderson, twice for the championship, former champ. Gray Maynard, former title challenger. BJ Penn, former champ. You have to go all the way back to when he's not fighting a top 5 guy. Last time he did not fight a top 5 guy was 2009. This dude has fought top 5 competition for 13 years straight. That's huge. He might be able to come out here dominate. And here's the other thing. One, it's his hometown. He's a Jersey guy. MSG is right around the corner. Everyone and their mother is going to vote for Frankie Edgar. I don't care if he gets a shit kicked for 15 minutes. If he survives, the judges may give it to him. Here's the last bit. Chris Gutierrez is known for throwing his leg kicks. They say he's one of the hardest kickers, and he finished Vince Morales with leg kicks. That's his signature move, is leg kicks. I watched the last few Frankie Edgar fights. I watched him against Pedro Munoz in particular. I thought Pedro won the fight. I thought it was close. I think Frankie stayed in it. But I noticed that in that fight, I noticed in the Marlon Vera fight, if you throw a kick, Frankie's pretty decent at catching it. If Chris wants to go out there and leg kick him to death, if he catches that leg, he's taking Chris Gutierrez down. Chris Gutierrez does not get up when you take him down. So you take away Gutierrez's biggest weapon, which is the kicks. I think he's at a disadvantage. I think in the hands, Gutierrez hits harder, but Frankie's faster. I think Frankie's faster and the better wrestler. I think he's going to get the job done. It's the last time I'm ever going to be able to bet on Frankie Edgar, so I'm going to pull the trigger. I've convinced myself. I've tried to find an angle, and I actually found 3 along the way. So the pick is going to be Frankie. The bet is going to be Frankie. And after we have that feel-good win, we're going to have the fight of the night. Fight of the year. My boy, Michael Iron Mike Chandler going up against the Diamond, Dustin Poirier. Poirier, minus 210 favorite against Mike at plus 180. Over-under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 130. Under 1.5 plus 100. Let's get it, boys. Dustin Poirier, nasty. Very, very good striking. Good jiu-jitsu. Good schedule. Has fought the who's who of the division. High volume. Is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. Is going to have a cardio advantage here. The only knock on Dustin Poirier that no one seems to be talking about is the fact that he has 64% takedown defense. You can take Dustin Poirier down. Dan Hooker took down Dustin Poirier. It's not difficult. He's good on the ground. Don't get me wrong. He mainly likes guillotines. He almost guillotined Habib. He loves his darts and his guillotines. He's good on the ground, but you can't get him there if you're not feeling comfortable. I think the dude's a stud. I think that if it wasn't for Oliveira and Islam, he might have been champ. He has great wins over Connor and Dan Hooker and Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis. Like, these are some phenomenal wins, but you can take him down. He's also been knocked out by Michael Johnson. Here's the deal. Michael Chandler he was underrated. Everyone knows how good he is now. The issue with Michael Chandler is that he is a world-class wrestler. The man is a phenomenal wrestler, but he said he's here for a good time, not a long time, and he'd rather get a bonus check than get a championship. He'd rather excite the fans than raise that hand. And here's the deal. He can go out there and get the job done with his hands. He hits hard. Ask Tony Ferguson. He kicks hard. Yes, he lost to Justin Gaethje, but he rocked Justin Gaethje and almost put him away. Yes, he lost to Charles Oliveira, but he rocked Charles Oliveira, almost put him away for the title. You look at his losses, I mean, those are some great losses. That's the top three guys in the division. Patricio Pitbull, he got caught behind the ear. Brett Primus was just a leg injury. I don't know why he couldn't beat Will Brooks back in the day. Will Brooks had some weird voodoo over him. And then Eddie Alvarez won a rematch. But all in all, he has some really, really, really good wins, some really good losses. And dude has high volume, hits extremely hard. Could his cardio be better? Yes. Does he gas out in fights? No. I've seen him gas out a few times, but that's 5 rounders, not 3 rounders. He can go 15 minutes, no problem. He will move forward. He doesn't take steps backward. Justin Gaethje got him to a few times, but that's when he was setting up a takedown. The thing is, if Chandler came out and wrestled, he would win this fight easily. Yes, Poirier has some good chokes. Michael Chandler doesn't have a fucking neck. You can't choke someone. Where is his neck? What is he grabbing onto to choke? He's not going to choke out Michael Chandler. Problem is, Michael Chandler's not going to shoot. He wants to fight. He wants to brawl. Does he have the power to take out Dustin? Absolutely. Is the path of least resistance a takedown? Absolutely. If Michael Chandler wins this fight, will they give him a title fight? They might. Does he? If he does, I mean, he might go out there and wrestle if he's that close. I think Beneil should get the next title fight personally, after Volk, but it is what it is. Michael was either gonna have to win this one or one more, and then he gets another title fight. Period. He knows he's close. He knows he's 36. He knows his chin is going away. I love Michael Chandler. I think he's one of the most exciting fighters in UFC history. He can go out there and wrestle and win easy. I can't trust my guy to do it. So it's going to be a close, greasy fight. If they're on the feet, I do give the advantage Poirier. So the pick is going to be Poirier. But plus 180 on the off chance that he catches him or decides to wrestle. He has 2 rounds to victory. Poirier has 1. Give me the plus money with 2 rounds. So the pick is going to be Dustin. I think he should win. But if Mike plays it smart or catches Dustin, that plus 180 is nice. So the bet would be Michael Chandler. Then that takes us to the first title fight of the night, one that we can fly through quickly because it may not necessarily be an exciting one. We have Weili Zhang at minus 350 going up against Carla Esparza plus 290. Over under set at 4.5. Over 4.5 minus 115. Under 4.5 115. Let's start with Weili Zhang, the former champ. I think she's very good. She had some help over there at Fight Ready, but I think she moved back to our original camp. She has very, very good striking, hits extremely hard. You see videos of her picking up Francis Ngannou. This girl's freakishly strong. All in all, she is okay. She will mix in the wrestling. Her wrestling's not bad. Her cardio checks out, her volume checks out. Just 60% takedown defense. That concerns me. I think she's strong. I think she's ready for the takedown against Carla. But 60%, I mean, China's not exactly known for having a strong wrestling pedigree. So the only way she loses is she gets laid and prayed by Carla Esparza. Can Carla take her down and hold her down? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Carla knows she can't strike. Has it gotten better over the years? Absolutely. Carla Esparza has lost 2 ways. You either catch her you either stuff her takedowns and beat the shit out of her on the feet, or you're a better wrestler. There's only one person that's been a better wrestler than her, and that's Tatiana Suarez, and she killed her. Claudia Gadelha was able to match her wrestling and was able to win on the feet. Ronda Marquez was able to match the wrestling for whatever reason, way back in the day, and win on the feet. Do you want a Jacek? Stuff the takedowns, 1 on the feet. Jessica Aguilar, stuff the takedowns, 1 on the feet. I mean, that's how you beat her. Weili Zhang has 60% takedown defense. Carla can't strike, but she does have good cardio. She's low volume, extremely hittable, but she can wrestle her ass off. So what happens? If she gets the takedown, Carla wins this easy. If she can't get the takedown, she's fucked. So what do you think happens? I think Weili Zhang wins. I think she's able to stuff the takedowns. I know she knows that's all Carla has. She drills it, and she gets the job done. But you have the champion as a plus 290 dog. Oh, it's going to be plus 300 by the time this fight kicks off. For the champion, I can't ignore that. I am a value chaser. I think Weili wins. no value on her. So the pick is going to be Whaley. The bet would be the under at -115 or just Carla. Take the dog shot on the champ, man. I mean, she's literally the champion. Why is she plus 300? Take the dog money. They kept doing against Charles. Charles is a dog in all of his title defenses, and he kept winning. So I know Islam eventually got him, but let's ride it while we can. Pick, and she keeps winning as a dog. She won against Marina Rodriguez as a dog. She went against Rose as a plus 230 dog. She keeps winning as a dog. Let's keep the train going. So the pick is Whaley. The bet is going to be Carla. And that takes us to the main event. Again, make sure you give a follow, a subscribe, like over on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. Let's take over one platform at a time. This is the fight that the UFC wanted to make for like 3 years now. We have Alex Pereira as a plus 155 dog, going up against Israel Adesanya at -180. Over under set at 4.5. Over 4.5 is -135. Under 4.5 plus 105. Let's start with Pereira. Again, training with Glover Teixeira currently. Phenomenal striking, and what they talk about him is the death touch. This guy is huge and has a ton of power. That's all you'll hear about. Even if he's not the most technical guy in the world, if he touches you, you go out. And you know what? He's touched Izzy, and Izzy has gone out in kickboxing. He's 35 years old, so he's not exactly young. His jiu-jitsu, he trains with Glover all the time to train it, but again, he's only been trained in MMA for so long. It's not the greatest. His wrestling and takedown defense, 70% takedown defense, and the only person that even tried to wrestle was Bruno and Andreas Michailidis. They both got him to the ground. Neither one of them can wrestle worth a damn, so that's a little sketchy. So he has no ground game and no wrestling. But the good thing is he's fighting Izzy, who's also just a striker. Alex, his cardio seems to check out. He tends to fight a lot better going forward. When you back him up, you can connect on this guy, and I have seen him rock, surprisingly. But when he goes forward, he's pretty damn good, and Izzy will tell you. They fought each other twice in kickboxing. The first one was I watched both of them. Very close. I can see it either way. They gave it to Alex. That is fine. I have no problem with that. The second fight, I thought Izzy was winning. Izzy had him rocked. Alex didn't know where he was, but in kickboxing, you can hug them, and then the ref stops it. You can gather where you're at and then continue. And it happened like 3 times in the later rounds. Izzy kept rocking him. He would hug Izzy. The ref would stop and count. And then Alex would say, I'm good after like 5 seconds of recovering. And then he'd go out there and eventually caught Izzy and got the knockout. Can't do that in the UFC. If he gets rocked like that, there is no hold on and the ref stops and lets you recover. It doesn't work. So I don't know, man. This fight's a lot closer than the people are just saying, well, he knocked out Izzy before and now he has smaller gloves. He's going to do it again. That is true. He has the death touch. He can knock out anyone. But if you think for a second Izzy hasn't watched those fights and studied, if you think for a second Izzy is not just as talented on the feet, he does not have the power Alex does, but he has enough. And he seems to be a pretty good counter striker as of late. Izzy, very good striking, very, very good cardio. I never even see him breathe out his mouth. He's always breathing through his nose. He's at City Kickboxing with the rest of these guys. He has the big fight experience. He's fought at MSG before against Yoel Romero. He has defended his title on the 25-minute fights over and over and over again. People will call him boring. He's not always the most exciting. I will give them that, but he's a technician, man. He's a master of his craft, and that craft is striking. This is going to be a striking affair. He's a favorite for a reason. I do see the path for Alex. I do think Alex can win, but it just wouldn't feel good having Alex as a champion, knowing that he got pushed there, he got rushed there, and it's because there's no wrestlers in that division. I don't like it. So the pick is going to be Izzy. I think Izzy is better for the promotion. I think if it goes to decision, they'll give it to Izzy. And Alex seems like a nice dad, but he might be a little bit douchey, in all honesty, the way he talks, showing videos of him knocking out Izzy. I think he's in his own head. I think the fame is getting to him, and I think Izzy's going to go out there and style on him. So the pick is going to be Izzy. The bet is going to be Izzy. And you can always hedge with Alex at the end of the night. That's UFC 281. It's not the best pay-per-view I've ever seen on paper. It is a little top-heavy with those last 3 fights. But some of the undercard fights are pretty good. So at the end of the day, it's a decent offering, one worth buying. one worth watching, one worth winning money on. Let's get it.